Hi, I'm Emma from ePilates Online. Thanks for joining me again today. It's day 7 of our challenge and I'm excited to be teaching you yoga again. Now, for today's session, you'll need a book, one that's a little bit heavy if you can, quite big. I chose the Mandela's Long Walk to Freedom, if you're interested. Actually, I was either going to choose Anthony Robbins' Money book or Jimmy Barnes, so I think this is a bit more yogic-like. You'll also need your block or your pillow or stool, whatever you choose to sit on if we're doing any seated practice. Now, when you begin, we're just going to be lying down on our back, face this way, and we're going to start to focus on the breath. Now, yesterday we were becoming aware of the breath. Today we'll be directing the breath, a little bit like we do in Pilates. So begin by just placing one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. And I just want you to close your eyes and just start to relax your body. And I want you to notice the natural rhythm of the body as you breathe. So as you inhale, you'll feel perhaps the belly and the chest inflate a little. And as you exhale, you'll feel the chest and the belly deflate slightly. You may feel that rise and fall naturally. And if you don't feel a lot in the belly, don't worry, we're going to be using our book to help us with that. The tendency is to breathe shorter, sharper breaths for many of us. So I'll explain a bit about that in a moment, but I want you to take your book now and place it on top of your belly and just relax again. And now see, with the weight of the book on your belly, if you can really feel the breath create the rise and fall of the belly. Now, what this is actually doing, you don't have to force it, by the way, you're not pushing your belly up, just notice the natural rhythm. What this is doing when you have the weight on the belly, it's forcing the diaphragm to work a little harder. So it forces the breath deeper into the body. So you'll be able to hopefully notice the breath more in the belly when you have the weight. Now, that's something I want you to practice. Anytime you feel stressed, anytime you notice that you can't sleep, or you can just do this little exercise, and that will help calm your body. And the reason is because, I'll just sit up while I talk to you, we have different styles of breathing. When we breathe shorter, sharper breaths into the chest, we're actually using what we call our sympathetic nervous system more than our parasympathetic nervous system. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is what we call our fight and flight nervous system. It means that the body is secreting more hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Now, these are needed if we are in danger, if we had to run away from a tiger or we're being attacked. Then this mechanism, this system has to kick in to keep us alive and hopefully get us away from the danger, and then we rest and recuperate. Now, the opposite, the parasympathetic nervous system, is what we call our rest and digest nervous system. It's when we are relaxed, it's when our body is able to repair itself and the body is able to rejuvenate. And this is the ideal nervous system we are operating in all day, every day. But, however, today's stressors aren't running away from a tiger and hopefully being attacked too often. What our stresses are today are our work, our phones, our responsibilities, could be family, it could be relationships, it could be any of those things that create stress, getting stuck in a traffic jam. Now, what happens is we start to breathe shorter breaths, which means that we are in that stress mode, meaning we're secreting those hormones. So if we are in this operating in this zone for too long, it's actually quite stressful for the body. Ideally, we're bringing the body into a more relaxed state as often as we can. So this is ideal for you to remember to continually check in with your body and notice where it's at. Are you breathing shorter, sharper breaths? bring the breath deep into your body. Let's do it seated now. So I'm going to use my block just to sit on. And you can get comfortable now seated. We're going to center ourselves just for a moment. So sitting to the front of your sitting bones, remember, sitting up tall. You can place one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly. And I want you just to now notice where your body is moving. More in the chest or more in the belly. Now, ideally it's equal, okay? You don't have to have more in the belly than the chest. You can have equal movement. You don't have to not move in the chest at all. Also, we want some movement in the ribs, okay? So it's what we call three-part breathing. So bring the hands one on top of the other on the belly, just below the belly button, and start to now direct your breath more into the belly. Now hopefully it starts to calm your mind, and it may start to relax your body. So just pay attention to the in-breath, pay attention to the out-breath. So this is something you can use anytime during your practice of yoga, anytime during the day, just to bring yourself back into your body. We spend a lot of time in our mind, okay, thinking constantly. When we reconnect to our breath, we're actually reconnecting again to our body. That brings us into the present moment. Now, when we're feeling stressed, when we're feeling anxious or fearful, this is when we're up in our head, okay? When we're connected to our body and in the present, there's nothing to be anxious about, there's nothing to be fearful about, because you're not thinking ahead, you're not thinking in the future, you're not thinking in the past. So anytime you're feeling stressed, just bring yourself back to your breath. Do this little breathing into the belly exercise. Another thing you can do as well, we'll be using the breath a lot, is say a little mantra called So Hum. Now, when you say this, it's just in your own mind. So as you breathe in, the word is so. And then as you breathe out, the word is hum. So to keep the mind in the present moment, to keep the mind focused and not thinking our thoughts that we usually get carried away with, our stories in our mind, the mind needs something to pay attention to. So you can use your breath, coming back to the breath in the belly, or you can use the mantra So Hum. Okay, so anytime you get wandering off in your mind, and this is the practice of yoga, not just the physical asanas, it's also paying attention to our mind. Okay, so our ultimate goal is to calm the mind. So with that in mind, let's come up the block and start to get into a little bit of movement. Come up onto your hands and knees. And we'll start with a cat-cow. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And lifting the chest to the ceiling. As we breathe in, open the chest. And as we breathe out, round the spine. Inhale as you arch the back. And then exhale as you round the back. Let's do two more. Inhale, open the chest. Exhale, really press your back to the ceiling. Last one. Inhale. And then exhale. Now from here, tuck your toes, lift your hips up to your first down dog. Remember, we talked about this in Pilates. We want to have the knees bent and the heels up if we're feeling tight in the hamstrings. So the goal here is to remember to lengthen spine. So not rounding in the back. Try and lengthen out as much as you can when you're in your down dog. And then when you feel okay to keep the length in your back, you can and straighten your legs and lower your heels. You can do that. If you don't feel comfortable in your down dog, this is your option to staying in your cat-cow and just rounding and arching the spine. So from your down dog or your cat-cow, come forward so that you bring your knees down onto the floor and your hands stay under your shoulders. Open your knees wide. So what we're doing here is taking a cobra position. I want you to have your hands directly under your shoulders, and I want you to make sure you're not dropping fully. Now, you'll either be back here maybe, if you're not feeling comfortable to bring your hips forward, or you maybe drop too low. So keep your core connected if you're dropping, and see if you can open the hips by bringing your pelvis a little forward if you feel you're back here. This is a great hip opening exercise. Now check your shoulders are not around the ears. I want you to lift your chest up. So there shouldn't be pain in the wrist. If there is, plug a towel underneath or roll your mat up to give you some support. You can also put some weight on the outside edges of your hands. Really lift your sternum. In here, in this position, you can roll the hips. So you're rolling side to side just to really open out the pelvis. Now this is a great position if you don't want to go into some of the push-up positions we'll get into when we get into our sun salutations. This cobra is a great upper body exercise and also hip release. Now slowly bring your knees back together, lower your body all the way down to the floor. Now hands stay under your shoulders, and your elbows are pinned in by your side. Your elbows can be lifted. They don't have to be down on the mat. So from here, I want you to have your legs hip distance apart. Press your pubic bone into the mat a little. So when you press your pubic bone into the mat, you lengthen out your lower back. And you'll feel that lengthening is helpful when you start to lift your chest if you feel any lower back pain. So now I want you to focus on lifting your head, neck and chest up, looking forward just to the front of your mat, not overarching the neck, and lower back down again. So we inhale, roll the shoulders back, lift the chest, and exhale, come down. Let's do two more. Inhale, roll the shoulders back. Feel pressing your pubic bone into the mat, how it lengthens out your lower back. Because what we're trying to do here is really use your upper back muscles and less into your lower back. Now you can either stick to that or we're adding on. Bring your index and thumb finger to touch. We call this a mudra. And if you feel comfortable, lift your legs and your whole body. You can leave the legs down if you're feeling tension in the back. Otherwise, reach the arms forward, legs open. Bring the hands back towards the shoulders, legs closed, touch those heels. So we inhale and we exhale. Now, as we go down, we lower the body. As we come up, we lift the body. Keep going with this movement. Now, if it's too much on your shoulders and neck, as you reach forward, just do this. Arms by your side, take them open and close. Open, close, whichever one you're doing. Let's do 4, lift, 3, this is great back strengthening, 2, keep pressing the pubic bone into the mat to release any tension, and hold. Now, options, holding one foot, taking a stretch, hand under your head. Quad stretch, and if you can't reach the foot, you can use a towel or you can use a strap. And option 2, take hold of both feet if you're feeling a little bit more flexible, and lift your chest as we just did, lift the legs up. Now if you're doing one leg, you can switch to the other leg. Hold the chest open for your boat pose. It's a great chest opener. And release down. Hands under shoulders, push your body back, sit into child's pose. Just rest your head on the floor. And when you're ready, just tuck your toes, lift your hips back up, come into your down dog. You can walk it out a little, move, bend one leg, straighten the other. And then I want you to lift your right leg and open your hip. Bend your leg in the air and really open through the hip and the back of the leg. Shoulders stay square. Now, send your right leg all the way through into a lunge. Back knee is down. And sit your bottom back towards your back foot and straighten out that front leg. Doesn't have to be completely locked, but just get a nice stretch behind the back of the leg. Pull your toes back so you're flexing your feet. Notice you're really rounding. Try and open your chest here. You can use towel under your knee if you're feeling any tension for a bit of padding. Come forward and then swing that knee back into your cobra like we did earlier. So your chest is lifted, knees are open, and in this position you can almost kind of crawl towards your hands to really open your back even more. So this is a fantastic back opening and a really great hip opening exercise. Make sure you're not dropped fully, your hips are not down, your abs are connected and your shoulders are open, really lifting your sternum. We're going to take the knees back in, lift your hips, come back to your down dog, or if you're not doing down dog, you're doing just cat-cow, that's fine. Just stick to your cat-cow. And if you're in down dog, you're going to lift your left leg up, bend the knee and open the hip. Really twist through your hips, but keep your shoulders square. Now step that leg all the way through into a lunge. Find your way to the lunge. Then press back so that your foot is flexed in front and your chest is lifted. Really open through that foot and the back of the leg. Now come forward. We're going to step that leg back again into your cobra. Now, at any point during our sequences, when we learn them next week, you can come into this cobra. Okay, this is sort of your level 1 positioning. We're going to just sit back now into child's pose, round the spine. Now, if you're doing a lot of this wrist weight bearing and you're feeling pain in the wrist, don't worry, it gets a lot easier. And in fact, it's quite good for you to strengthen the wrist with weight bearing. So keep at it, just use your mat if you need to, rolled up, or use a towel. When you're ready, just roll yourself all the way up and you can face me. So cross-legged, just sitting with your block if you need it, or just sitting comfortably without it. Take one hand to the floor, lift up the other arm and side bend over. Inhale to lift, exhale over. Coming all the way up, give your shoulders a nice roll. And you're done for today. That was a little intro to your yoga, and as we progress, we're going to get a little bit more and more dynamic. I want you to practice those breathing techniques and a couple of those moves if you can, so you're feeling comfortable for next week. Tomorrow I'll see you on the mat for Pilates. Bye for now.